So this is the November 2024 Gratitude Sesshin second talk. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming together to practice what is rare to practice. Thank you for coming to this Sesshin. I'm grateful that so many people want to practice in this way, enough to fill the zendo. So I want to talk a little bit about some things that are good for the beginning, for beginning Sesshin, for beginning the day, for beginning any practice period. And that is just simply being clear about our intentions for practice. It's helpful to keep in mind our intentions for practice and be open to support. So I want to talk a little bit about the way that we orient ourselves in practice. So I want to share a personal practice that I learned from the Tibetan lineage teacher, the late Dan Brown. He's a different Dan Brown than the one who wrote that best-selling book, different guy. Dan Brown was, that I speak of, was a tenured Harvard psychology researcher and prolific writer, and also a profound teacher in the Tibetan tradition. Spent many years practicing in Nepal and translating texts into English. In addition to all of that, he used to come here many years ago, and he's in our ancestor room as one of the people whose practice and teaching was influential to the way that we practice here. So I want to share a practice that I personally do, that I learned, and that you may consider. So this is the aspect of being clear about our intentions for practice. Why are we doing this? It's helpful to remind ourselves. Opening to support, and then being clear about our practice. Because it's very easy to, in the morning, stumble out of bed, get our coffee, plop down on the cushion, and if I'm not clear about why, if I don't do this practice myself, I could be halfway through the first sitting period before I actually realize I'm in the zendo on a cushion in a sesshin, because the mind just starts thinking. So being clear about intentions, asking for help, and then clear about practice. So if we have personal vows, we can recite them to ourselves. And here at Great Vow and in Zen Community of Oregon, we really encourage people to investigate what are our vows, our life vows. What is our life about? This is different than what is the meaning of life. It's also not different in a way. But we consider, what is it that brings us to practice? So here are the vows here are after my own process and years of practice of considering these. The way that I express these vows is thus. I vow to awaken. I vow to help guide others to awakening, even before me. I vow to see what the ancestors saw with this very body, heart, and mind. I vow to serve the Sangha, Great Vow Zen Monastery, and Heart of Wisdom Zen Temple. I vow to serve the Sangha in whatever way is needed. And I vow to uphold my marriage vows. So what if you don't have a set of vows? Haven't considered these? You could use the 4 Bodhisattva vows. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. You could just take one of those. And maybe that's your motivation right now. These don't have to be like, oh gosh, now Bansho's saying I have to do another thing. I have this gratitude journal, now I have to do vows too. So it's just simply, you might even just, what is inspiring you in that moment? Or what brought you to practice? What brought you to the sesshin? It could be as simple as bring to mind the intention. What brought you here? To open your heart? To nurture kindness in the world and in your own life? To support a friend? Perhaps it's a wordless intention or vow. Mystery. I'm here because of the mystery. Even something as simple as that can help enlarge our view, remind us. We need reminding. At least I do. Need to remind myself, what is the intention? So for yourself, you might consider doing this, simply bringing to heart, bringing to mind, how do you want to be in the world? And that's your reason for practicing. I want to bring kindness and love into the world. That's why I'm here. So intention, the second part is to ask for help. So the way that I phrase this for myself is I say, I call upon the ancestors and ask for the gift waves of influence that we might awaken the heart of wisdom and compassion for the benefit of all. So the gift waves of influence is a translation of a word in Tibetan that I don't remember. It is basically that the vow that the awakening of human beings reverberates through space and time. And so it's both basically asking for that to resonate here. I might be just tuning into that resonance. So you can ask the Zen ancestors for help. Dogen, Keizan, Hakuin, Joko Beck, Ryonen, Maizumi, Ayakema, Ananda, the Buddha, or ordinary practitioners through space and time. I call upon all the ordinary people just like me, totally ordinary, I ask to that their heart and my heart be open to each other. I ask for help. You can also ask for the help of the Sangha. I ask the Sangha to support me. So saying your intention and then opening to support. All of the ancestors went through the ups and downs of a human life, had a human mind, faced obstacles. You can call upon or acknowledge your own ancestors. So they don't have to be the Zen ancestors or Buddha ancestors, your mentors, your teachers, your family ancestors. You can imagine them present here with you. And finally, in order to fulfill this intention, I will practice, and then whatever your method is. So then that frames our mindfulness practice, our meditation practice within this context of intention. Because so easily sometimes we can forget. It's like, why am I following my breath? This is boring. Why am I here? So we remind ourselves. And then that gives it a power. It gives it a power so try it out. So we say, in order to fulfill this intention or fulfill these vows or manifest these vows, with the support of the ancestors, I will practice being present with the breath, feeling the body breathing, experiencing the body breathing. Or I will practice loving kindness with the phrases riding on the breath, just being that specific. So what do we practice? Well, during this sesshin, we're really encouraging the practice of mindfulness presence. However you want to, if you want to use the word mindfulness or use the word presence. Mindfulness presence, and then the second aspect is gratitude. And these two form a virtuous circle. The more we are in the present moment, seeing the way things are, with a Dharma eye, gratitude naturally manifests. It doesn't need to be manufactured. And then the more we practice gratitude, the more easily our mind abides in the present, really seeing the gift of this moment. And gratitude manifests non-separation and is manifested by non-separation because it is independent of circumstances and does not depend on the small self. Gratitude manifests non-separation and is manifested by non-separation, independent of circumstances and does not depend on the small self. So, mindfulness presence and gratitude. Opening, just being open to gratitude. So, our motivation for practice is very important. It just keeps us going through the ups and downs, especially when we get confused, when we feel stuck, or just plain forget. 2, our motivation, reminding ourselves of our motivation means that our practice is not pushed around by temporary changes or the small self's preferences. So here's a teaching on some foundational aspects that some of the Tibetan schools keep in mind to motivate practice. These are sometimes called the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma. 4 thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma. Dharma meaning the truth. Dharma meaning reality. Dharma meaning the Buddhist teachings. The Dharma meaning the truth of my life. 4 thoughts that turn the mind. And these are preciousness of being born a human. The second is impermanence. The third is karma, cause and effect. And the fourth is the inherent dissatisfaction of the realm of samsara, which is the cycling through the 6 realms of existence, the cycling through dissatisfaction, clinging and aversion, sort of endlessly repeating what we've been doing. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So first is the preciousness of a human birth. And this being human is a mystery. So this is to acknowledge the reality that it is rare to be born a human being. Out of all the trillions upon trillions of beings, animals, plants, bacteria, you were born a human. And we get to be human. We get to have all of that experience. Recollecting not everybody gets to be human. Not everybody gets to be a human for as long as you got to be a human or have been a human. Some never make it out of the womb. Some die right after they're born. Some die as young children. And here we are. We get to live. We've lived this long. It's amazing. Not that long ago, most people didn't live this long. It was hard to get to live this long. So recollecting the preciousness of human birth, just noting it, it's like a reminder. We stop taking this for granted. Because that's easy to take it for granted, of course it is. But taking note of it is a reminder of, oh yes, yes, yes. We stop taking it for granted. I like this quote. Zenju Earthland Manuel, in her book, The Shamanic Bones of Zen, quotes Norman Fisher in her discussion about gratitude. She says, even the difficulties we are grateful for become because they bring an experience of compassion, is what she says. Then she quotes him. Norman Fisher's interpretation of the meaning of lack of gratitude, he says, we, quote, we take existence for granted. We take it as a given, and then we complain that it isn't working out as we wanted it to. But why should we be here in the first place? Why should we exist at all? So, why should we exist at all? But here we are. It's a mystery, a total mystery. Yet here we are. And then tied to this, about the preciousness of human birth, is the good fortune we have to have heard the teachings of the Dharma, such that we get to practice. I'm grateful for the ancestors who brought Zen to North America. I had an experience one time, a few years ago, we went on a trip to Japan with Chozen Roshi and Hogen Roshi. And we visited a few temples on a pilgrimage, and we were And one of the places that we went to was Eiheiji Monastery, which is where the first ancestor in Japan, Eihei Dogen, that's his monastery, and was founded in the 1200s. And it's still a place of practice, still a place where monks go to train. And at some point, it's a bustling place. There's tons and tons of people who come there and who are part of the wider Sangha, and they come for memorial services. And there was at one point a dinner that kind of a banquet type of dinner for everybody who happened to be there. So it was like us, 4 or 5 of us, and then this sea of, I would say, probably at least 100 Japanese people who were there, lay people mostly, not monks, who were there. And we had dinner, and it was very cute. There was a guided instruction on how to do mindful eating. It was like, oh, that's what we do too. And I had this moment where at the end we were adjourned, and people started filing out, and we were seated, and there were all these people walking by. And I was just really struck with gratitude that it was people like these, like the people who were there, all these supporters of the temple who had, just through their practice and their support of Soto Zen, they basically, they paid for the steamboat ticket so that Mayuzumi Roshi could get on a boat from Japan and take the trip to Los Angeles. And now here we are. So that's the spontaneity that can happen in gratitude practice. It just comes sometimes. That Mayuzumi Roshi, who was Chozen's teacher, Chozen Roshi, who founded this monastery, don't want to assume that everybody knows that. My teacher and Shine's teacher is Chozen and Hogen. They both practiced with Mayuzumi Roshi. So he was inspired by his teachers. He came and inspired my teachers. And then I was inspired by my teachers. Warm hand to warm hand, as they say. So we have the good fortune to have heard the teachings of the Dharma, and such that we get to practice. And on top of that, right now, all of us, everyone here, have the causes and conditions that allow us to sit in this sesshin. So it's special. And this isn't to say you should be grateful. This is to say, let's rejoice. Let's rejoice in however it came together, the causes and conditions that all came together such that we're able to be here. However things fell into place that you could come to this sesshin, it's amazing. So then our mindfulness meditation, we're able to acknowledge this preciousness. We practice this preciousness by actually experiencing our life. We stop and we become intimate with the direct experience of our life force, of our vitality, feeling your aliveness. Open the senses. What is the experience of being alive? Feeling the aliveness of life, of your life. What is it that's alive? So we can engage the preciousness of human life admonition as a thought, and it is called the 4 thoughts that turn the mind towards Dharma, and we can experience it directly with no thought by attending to the direct experience of our life force. The second is impermanence and flow, or flow. Remembering her impermanence helps us turn towards Dharma practice. Impermanence is all around us. Things change. I know this is not a news flash. And we resist this. Things change. We don't know when and how things will change, but they will. Sometimes we know that things will change, but we often don't. We often predict how we think they'll change and what it will be like. It's almost never how we predict it, or just partially true. But remembering impermanence, or that everything is flowing. So a young body will become older, if we're fortunate. An older body will eventually give out and die. The quote-unquote positive side of impermanence and flow is that we are never stuck. Whatever we are going through, especially if it is painful or we feel stuck, we can just have faith in impermanence. It will change. 100% it will change. We don't necessarily know how it will change, but it will change. We are not stuck. That is the promise of the flow of things. The Chan teacher Guagu calls impermanence new beginnings. New beginnings, always new beginnings. Each moment is a new beginning. So through our mindfulness, through our meditation practice, how do we experience flow and impermanence? Not as an idea, but as a felt experience. Notice now the coolness of in-breath and the warmth of out-breath. The subtle movement sensations of the body, changing sounds, tiredness changing to energy when the bell rings. Where did that fatigue go? Oh, I'm so tired. I didn't get enough sleep. The bell rings and it's like, bing, breakfast, service. Thoughts coming and going. Thank goodness for that. As much as, thinking gets thank goodness we don't just think one thought and then it's like stuck there. So we attend to the direct experience, and that experience is flowing. Whatever arises, we are not stuck. An important thing to remember as we embark on Sesshin. So how does this support our gratitude practice? How does impermanence part of gratitude? Well, we can appreciate what is here and not take it for granted. This delicious bite won't last, so we appreciate it. the frog croaking, we won't keep croaking all sesshin, so we can appreciate it. The health of this body won't last, so we can appreciate it. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about being grateful for his non-toothache. We attend to like things are, we have a rough time and that gets a lot of attention, but there's so much that's like not going wrong. Right? So we can look at that, appreciate it. So this sesshin won't last. So we appreciate it. This beloved person, they won't last. They won't last. So we appreciate them. This human life right here, it won't last. So we appreciate it. So the third thought that turns the mind to Dharma is karma, cause and effect. Now this teaching is often misunderstood as you get what you deserve, what goes around comes around. That's not what we're talking about. The teaching of karma comes down to this: what you do matters. What we do, what we say, and what we think matters. And for the Buddha, the most important of those three is what we think, because what we say and what we do comes from thought. Often, it comes from thought. What we say and do is born from thought. Our opinions, our beliefs about the world, about ourselves, our judgments about ourselves, about the world. These things create our world, create the way that we relate to the world. So through our meditation practice, we can see the workings of this. We can see the mind's conditioning and how it has affected the way we view the present moment. For example, if I nurture thoughts of judgment or criticism, then I experience the world in that way. And as the mind settles down, we can actually see it in operation. Take a step back. And don't believe the beliefs. In the beginning, one of the beliefs that we may have, that we may believe is around sesshin is it's going this way. This is how it's going. It's going well. Oh, this is going well. Oh, this is a really good breath. Oh, I'm really paying attention. This is going terrible. My mind is scattered. The judgment or evaluation of our own practice. Taking a step back. What happens when you let that go? What is the effect of that? When we just don't nurture those thoughts, they arise and we don't give them energy. We don't follow them. It has an effect. It changes our experience of sesshin, changes our experience of our life. So how does this play out in our gratitude practice? By understanding cause and effect, we realize the infinite causes and conditions that led to the present moment. We chant in the meal chant, we reflect on the effort that brought us this food. One of the other translations that is often used for this is 72 labors brought us this meal. So all the causes and conditions that led to us being in this sesshin, it's infinite. All the causes and conditions that led to us being here, led to you, to your life. And this is kind of related to the preciousness of human life. So if you go back, so when we chant the Zen ancestors, there's 80 generations. So think about 80 generations for you, your genetic ancestors. So I looked this up, and if you go back 10 generations is 4,096 ancestors. 4,096 couples had to come together at exactly the right time, exactly the right place for you to be here. Over 10 generations, 4,096 people to reach your 10th great-grandparents. And then this, sort of the rabbit hole led to this study that was very interesting. So this is an article from NBC. So this says, a genetic survey concludes that all Europeans, this is about Europeans, a genetic survey concludes that all Europeans living today are related to the same set of ancestors who lived 1,000 years ago. And you wouldn't have to go back much further to find that everyone in the world is related to each other. Family researchers have long known that if you go back far enough, everyone with a European connection ends up being related to Charlemagne. Take you back to high school world history. The concept was laid out scientifically more than a decade ago. Now, the University of Southern California geneticist Peter Ralph have come up with the evidence. Their findings were published on Tuesday in a journal. Quote, anyone alive 1,000 years ago who left any descendants will be an ancestor of every European, speaking of Europe. The researchers say, while the world population is larger than the European population, the rate of growth of number of ancestors quickly dwarfs the difference. And so every human is likely related genealogically to every other human over only a slightly longer time period. Thus endeth the article. Every human is likely related genealogically to every other human over only a slightly longer time period. So everyone here is family. Everyone here is family. It's amazing that if you, so 4,096 ancestors over 10 generations, for that's just you. So if you multiply that by everybody here, it's 225,280 people who coupled at just the right time for over 1,000 years for all of us to be here. The fourth of the thoughts that, and final thought that turns the mind is the inherent dissatisfaction of the realm of samsara. And this is the dissatisfaction, clinging, I want, an aversion, I don't want. This is our resistance, the subtle rejection of how things are, trying to bargain with impermanence. And I talked a little bit about that last night, so we don't have to go too much more into that right now. But, it's what launched the Buddha on his own quest about why is being human, why do we suffer? Why is it so dissatisfying? So it is helpful to recall these four thoughts that turn the mind. Preciousness of human birth, flow, cause and effect, dissatisfaction of the ordinary reactive mind. Why is it helpful to recall these? Well, because it's easy to turn our practice into some kind of achievement-oriented endeavor. I need to figure out how to do the perfect breathing. Or a self-improvement project. I'm here to improve myself. I'm here to be better. When I first came to practice, one of Hogan Roshi's admonitions was, Zen is not a self-improvement project. So again, whether it be your own vow or these thoughts that turn the mind, our motivation for practice is important. And just being in touch with it. That's a way that we can inspire ourselves, keep ourselves in. So just a few things in terms of the 3 ways to practice, do our meditation practice. Not the method. You want, as I said, it's really important to be clear about your method, your practice, keep it simple. That could be experiencing the body breathing moment by moment. Could be loving kindness practice, total absorption in sound, intimate experiencing of the present moment, moment by moment, through the direct experience of the body. Intimate experiencing of the present moment. So that's our practice of presence. The way to do that, or one important element of that, is patience. It takes time for the mind to settle. This is one of the reasons why we stay with our method and don't flit around like opening different apps on our phone. You're like, oh, I don't like this one. Let's look at that. I wonder what's going on over in the loving kindness zone. So pick something and stay with it, at least for the period, if not for the day or for the whole sesshin. Part of being patient is not coming to conclusions about sesshin, about your practice, whether it's going well or not going well. Don't give those thoughts a second thought. Who knows? I could say, oh, this is really hard right now. I must not be doing well. It must not be going well. On the other hand, I could say meeting challenges is how we learn. If you want to see how big your heart is, try to love a challenging person. It's easy to love lovable people. It's easy to practice meditation when things feel like they're just going really good. Challenging times will come, and if we become intimate with it or patient with it, there's a deepening that can happen. You just have to have faith have faith in that. Try it yourself. Try patience out. Finally, practicing kindness. Regarding our experience with kindness, whatever arises is allowed to be here. Emotion, sensations that are painful, sensations that are easeful, emotions that are painful, emotions that are easeful and pleasant. It's all allowed to be here. Welcome all of it. Whatever arises is allowed to be here. So regarding our tiredness with kindness, fatigue of the body, scattered thoughts, frog song, wind, rain, warmth and cold, intimate with it all. Ultimately, gratitude is a realization of non-separation, of non-self, that the gifts that come towards us are not personal. They're not about anything we've done or what we're deserving of. It doesn't matter who we are. Life is replete in and of itself. And we practice intimacy with that. So I'd like to close with a reworking of the Gatha of Atonement called the Gatha of Gratitude. This is from Gion Susan Postal, who was she is a contemporary. She died in 2014 at age 74, and this is a Gatha that she wrote. For all beneficent karma ever manifested through me, I am grateful. May this gratitude be expressed through my body, speech, and mind, with infinite kindness to the past, infinite service to the present, infinite responsibility to the future. Again, that's for all beneficent karma ever manifested through me, I am grateful. May this gratitude be expressed through my body, speech, and mind, with infinite kindness to the past, infinite service to the present, infinite responsibility to the future. May it be so. Thank you.